started on the night of the 19th. The middle class, they sat at home watching their news on their television. On the news, they saw poor people crying, women crying in front of supermarkets, begging for it, even sometimes taking food. That's when the state of siege was declared. That's when the sound of kakiolora, the banging of pots and pans began. From one window, and then another. From one house, and then another came the noise of those kakioloras. Television newscasters reported that there were kakioloras in one neighborhood, and then another, until people realized that their individual reactions were forming part of this mass collective reaction. The mass media functioned as a kind of mirror, multiplying this protest. Involuntarily, I suppose, but it functioned like that. Somewhere, the first person began to bang a pot and saw the neighbor across the street banging one. And the neighbors downstairs too started banging. And soon there were 4, 5, 15, 20. People moved to the doorways and they saw other people banging pots in theirs. They saw on the television that this was happening in more and more neighborhoods. And soon they went to the main corner of the neighborhood. For example, in this neighborhood, this is the very corner. Hundreds of people gathered, banging pots, until one point, when the people banging pots began to walk. Newscasters reported that groups of kakioloras were marching to the house of the Minister of Economy because Kavala had resigned. Then others began walking to the Plaza de Mayo, downtown, and more people headed there without really understanding why, but they were going anyways. You could see them arriving on television and calling, "Come! Come, everyone, come!" The Minister of the Economy resigned. He resigned, but they began to say that wasn't enough. The rest of them must go. They all must go. We want them all to go. Que se vayan todos. And it was born there. That was the first time that those words were spoken. And it's important to know that until that moment, they'd never been spoken before. This wasn't planned. That's how it was. The movement of the 19th and 20th began with that simple sound, the sound of someone banging on a pot. And that sound grew, and then bodies began to move from their houses to the corner, and to the center of the city, and finally to the Plaza de Mayo. Bodies moved, pots banged, and finally that new phrase was spoken. Not speeches, not explanations, no political parties. No one exactly knew who was there, whether people were from the left or the right or the center. They were housewives, young people. Everyone there said with the common voice, "It's time. They all must go." They were saying that all leaders must go. That by extension, everyone in a position of power, all the politicians, all the representatives, all the judges, they all must go. And this belief, combined with our knowledge of government scandal, corruption, fraud, made us realize that the minority with financial power was making decisions every day, while the rest of the population felt like they were unable to do anything about it. And it all exploded on the 19th, when the people rose up and said they all must go. I could go on with this story, but the point I want to make is this was not planned. It was a collective, unconscious eruption bursting out from the people as they took the streets. And when you think about October 15th, when 2,000 people gathered right here, when people gathered in over 100 countries on every populated continent on this planet, they gathered to occupy. And now our story is not the same as the story of November 19th. It's not the same as horizontalism. But we still can learn from their story nonetheless. What emerged out of this unconscious gathering was assemblies, neighborhood assemblies, people meeting in factories and workplaces and schools, people making plans. And it was frustrating. I've read through these pages, people cussed at each other. They had to learn how to respect each other. They had to learn how to work together. They did not have a culture preparing them for this. But they've stuck with it through years. Their population of protesters and activists has risen, it's fallen, and it's risen again. It's been corrupted, it's been cleansed. 10 years later, they are still a work in progress. And we as Occupy are beginning our own journey. So I want you to take just a moment to think about the story that we are going to co-create with our movement. Let's have a meeting, y'all.